गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Amrit Anubhav, chapter 5, OV number 64. And what we have seen last week was when the Paravani becomes silent, will Vaikhari be eloquent? Will Vaikhari meaning cross speech, Para means transcendental speech. Transcendental speech means what does it? Is silence a speech? No. Silence is not speech. Then what does transcendental speech means? That abidance which is not opposed to manifestation of speech or unmanifestation of speech, that is Paravani. That is the goal that we have to reach. And that throughout our life, we have to live our life in such a manner without reacting to events, to situations, to experiences, so that we cultivate this poise of a how should we say, a positive poise as we go through life, rather than a, a disposition of continuous reaction, argument, opinionation, opinionated response, judgmental, biasness. All this is very detrimental to our ultimate goal of life. And and now be aware, this is what yama niyam is, we have to practice that. So either you practice yama niyama according to yoga, or you practice Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. And when we, with devotion, with dedication, with commitment, with regularity, we do the Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, the gross speech, subtle speech, causal, and go beyond it, then if that is the goal that we have to reach, Paravani, where we are undisturbed by gross speech, subtle speech, and causal speech, Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti, then why not start right now itself? So even though we are living as an individual, as a seeker, right now we think we are the body, that we are a seeker, I have to do sadhana, I have to do japa. Then the goal, ultimate goal is you have to remain undisturbed, equanimous towards everything. Why don't we start practicing it right now with the world? See? And this was told, if this is developed as a lifestyle, then other than Paramatma, nothing else will be one's companion. See? It is that simple. But we make it complicated because we are thinking people. So simple things made complicated is human being. See? But when we become saral, when we become simple in our approach to everything, without biasness, without judgment, very quickly what perceives as a complicated life, it's absolutely simple, because you become tuned with nature, with Prakriti. See? Being in one tune, being in tune with Prakriti, just as an example, it's a limited example, just as fire is hot, it can burn us. So we have developed ways how to deal with fire so that it becomes helpful to us, but we don't get burned by it, isn't it? We have learned, if we jump into water, we will drown. So we have learned how to swim so that we are able to negotiate through water to reach our whatever, to play or to reach across the river, whatever. You don't, if you are continuously afraid of the river, you will never jump into the river. If you are continuously afraid of the fire, you will never go close to fire. Then you cannot cook, then you cannot have tea, coffee, whatever. So it's how do you negotiate? For negotiation, you have to follow, you have to do some sadhana. You have to have a certain mindset that I'm not going to put my finger into the fire. I'm not going to allow the fire to come close to my skin. I'm going to use it. I'm going to invoke it only with a matchbox or a lighter. I'm only going to touch the buttons to, if in case of electric. When the pots are hot, which are heated by, I'm going to use gloves or cloth to take it off. And this way you protect. You're negotiating with fire, with the fire. Your approach. You're not negotiating the fire. You're negotiating your approach, because in the end you are going to get burnt. Fire is not going to get burnt. So what is, are we negotiating through life, through this prakriti? What is our approach? We are getting disturbed, we are getting troubled, we are getting distraught by the experiences, by the events, by the happenings. See? So world doesn't have to do anything. We have to do. But to expect that the world must change, it will never. It has always been the same. We have to change our attitude, we have to change our disposition, so that we, as we pass through this life, as we pass through the experiences of this life, we come out unscathed after every experience. Not after every life, after every experience. After life also not a problem, but after every experience. If you practice this after every experience, your mind is calm, cool, steady, undisturbed, unreactive. Then there is every possibility that when the last breath is breathed, you will go in the same poise beyond. Because you will be aware, you will be alert. And if not, okay, then you, even in next birth, then good life at that time. But that is not the topic here. So if this is developed as a lifestyle, then other than Paramatma, nothing else will be one's companion. When we initially, we are not, today only something happened. I just went to give mom a cup of coffee because poor thing, she's in pain and everything. So she, last night after satsang I came, she says I'm not able to sleep. This morning, then she took medicine and everything, but even then she is not able to sleep. In last 2-3 days she is not able to sleep. So I say, just now she complained, I did not sleep whole night. So I said, are you tired? She says no. I said, then what's wrong then? If you're not tired, you're not tired. Why you have to keep thinking that I have not slept, I have not slept, I have not slept? And she does her, the moment she gets into the bed, she is doing her japa. So japa makes you awake. Japa is not done to make you go to sleep. It makes you awake. You become highly alert as a result of japa. So I said, you are doing japa when you go to sleep? She says, yes. I said, that's why you are not sleeping. And if you do get tired during the day, just take a nap. And which I have seen you are doing it. But in the total scheme of things, you are not exhausted. She says, no, I am not exhausted. I said, if you really want to sleep at night, then stop doing japa. She says, I can't stop. It's happening. Then what to do? Enjoy. Many people are striving to get there. You are already there. Now you are sabotaging it by continuously complaining that I didn't get sleep, I didn't get sleep. See how our mind functions? Then she understood. Then she became quiet. She must be contemplating now. This is our situation also. It's not just her. I am taking because it just happened. But this is how we sabotage our own happiness with every passing experience. How? By reacting to it, by holding on to it, by expecting something from it, by liking it or disliking it. Instead, what should be our approach? Remain untouched. Let it come, let it stay, let it go. Isn't the waking dream, deep sleep every day coming, staying, going? Then what's when you are in the larger scale of scheme of things, when you are doing this, why individual events you are holding on to? Oh, have the same attitude. Have the same attitude. Why react? Why react? Why pass a comment? Then we are here and now. Then we are one with Paramatma. Here and now. Paramatma is not something, a fantastic event that is going to happen and flowers are going to be showered from the sky on top of you, and if the entire universe will be playing the conch and all the gods will come in front of you. Nothing like that is going to happen. It's the most ordinary event. Most ordinary event. Nothing has happened yet, everything is happening. And that you are. See? But we, as spiritual seekers, we think realization is a great event, something fantastic must happen. Nothing fantastic is going to happen. Why? Because it is your natural state. Even right now, it is your natural state. All you have to do is turn towards it. You are turned outwards, turn inwards. Who turns inward? The mind. How do you turn the mind inwards? Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. Chant the name of the Lord. Interact with the world intelligently. Once the Samvadi Brahma of correct error has helped to realize the truth, there is no need to talk about it. This is the 64th. Chailiya hi pathi चेवणयाच्या गोठी की झाला बैसे पाठी रंधनाच्या. Having awakened from the sleep, is it again necessary to reawaken? Or having fully satiated the hunger, is it necessary to cook again? Taking cue of these words, today we did the meditation. The words Sat, Chit and Ananda and Atma, through the technique of Samvadi Brahma, take the seeker up to the point of experience. Once the experience takes place, the experiencer disappears. Once the seeker is no more seeking, once he has disappeared in the pure bliss, where is the existence of an experience now? Who will say, I have realized? This example I took before also. Samvadi Brahma, you are imagining I am going to sleep, I am feeling sleepy, I have to get into the bed to sleep, I have to take the duna on top, then I will get good sleep, I have to get into this position, then I will be able to sleep. What is this? Only an imagination in your mind. It's a Brahma. It's a fantastic imagination of the mind that I am going to sleep. As long as you are thinking I am going to sleep, you have not slept. See? So what is this? As long as you are thinking of the world, you will never be able to sleep. As long then you replace the world with the thought called sleep. This is Samvadi Brahma. Correct error. By thinking about the world, it is wrong. It is not the correct error. No, correct error. How it's what you call oxymoron. Correct also and error also. Two opposite meanings coming together. Akal mand, oxymoron. Husband saying I am happy, oxymoron. Because husband itself means hasi band. So how can it be ever possible, man? so, so we replace the thought of the world, which will never allow us to go to sleep, by the thought of sleep. So one illusion, I should say, one illusion is replaced by another illusion. So illusory waking state in which we find ourselves to be right now with the objects, we are replacing with another illusory object which we have never known, and that is thought called sleep. But what does thinking of thought called sleep do to us? Eventually we merge, we lose as a result of focusing on the sleep, thinking of the sleep, contemplating on the sleep, surrendering to the sleep. The consequence is the thoughts of the world keep reducing and eventually become zero. And when the last thought of sleep also only is left, it was only being used to counteract the thoughts of the world. Just as Sat is being used only to counteract the thoughts of Asat. Chit is being used to counteract the thoughts of Achit. Anand is being used to counteract the Dukkham. So understand, this is Samvadi Brahma. You are replacing one thought by another thought, and this is Vedanta. And that thought does not leave an experience behind. There is nothing to experience. You can think of the world, experience the world. But you cannot, but you are now replacing it with thought of the sleep. But are you experiencing sleep? No, you only vanish. The experiencer vanishes. The one who wanted to experience sleep, he is sucked into sleep, and there is no one to experience the sleep there. Exactly the same thing will happen or is happening when we practice Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, when we live continuously, in spite of living in this world, going through this world, our attention is on that infinite. Our attention is on that infinite being that is our true nature. And we keep remaining attentive towards it. All you have to do is give attention to it. You give only attention to the sleep. You cannot invoke sleep. You give attention. Then it does what it has to, because it's getting your attention. Same way, give attention to the self in the right manner, as the scriptures are saying. Now don't argue. No, it is Satchidanand Swarup. How can it not be Satchidanand Swarup? How can this master say that it is an abuse to the Paramatma? Even Paramatma word is an abuse to Paramatma. Then we cannot use any words. Don't use any words. Then how can we realize the truth? You are the truth. You don't need words to prove that you are. You don't keep going there and saying, I am a body, I am a body, I am a body. Paramatma doesn't go around saying, I am Paramatma, I am Paramatma, I am Paramatma. He doesn't need to. See? No Mahatma goes around saying, I am realized, I am realized, I am realized. Do you go around saying, I am awake, I am awake, I am awake? No, you don't say, I am awake, I am awake, I am awake. Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. Here, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying the word Sat, uh, once the experience takes place, meaning the seeker merges into the sought, then the experiencer vanishes. Experience remains. The waker vanishes, but the experience of sleep remains. But there is no experiencer of sleep. After waking up, again the waker says, "Oh, I was missing, man, and I was not disturbed also throughout night. So I must have gone to sleep. It was deep sleep because I didn't hear the alarm also." But the waker was absent in the sleep. Seeker is absent in the self. Then only the awakened state, so to speak, or in other words, just the realization remains. There is no self realized person there. Only realization remains. And that is the natural state of the entire creation. Because the material is the one and the maker also is one. It's not two. Once the seeker is no more seeking, once he has disappeared in the pure bliss, just as the waker has disappeared into the ignorant bliss called sleep, the seeker has disappeared into the pure bliss of realization, of being the self. This will not happen remaining continuously attached with the world. You have to do a little bit of initially, either accept it, and if you don't accept it because we are addicted to do something, then do Vaikhari Madhyama Pashanti Para. Where is the existence of an experiencer now who will say, "I have realized"? Having awakened from the sleep, need one awaken again? If one is awakened to one's essential nature, there is no further need to reawaken. When hunger has been satiated, there is no need to cook again. Once self realization has taken place, there is no more struggle, frustration, no self appointed mission to improve the world. And yet, the equipment becomes an instrument for the infinite to function through to serve the world. That is what is observed. Take Shirdi Baba, Sai Baba, Ammachi, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Neem Karoli Baba, Lahadi Mahashay, Jnaneshwar Maharaj, Gondavlekar Maharaj, Namdev Maharaj, Eknath Maharaj, Guru Nanak. So many Mahatmas are there. They are all established, but now there is no will to do anything. They become a medium for the totality, because we are talking about relativity. They become the medium for the totality to function through, to do whatever is required to be done. Totality has no purpose. Then eventually it becomes the collective. What is the most beneficial for the collective? Because mind is only one. Mind is not many minds. It's only one mind. Consciousness is not many consciousness, that this one consciousness called Swami Paramananda is speaking and so many consciousnesses with different names are listening. All this is, it is one playing with one. Then in that scenario, in that only something substantial will come out of that person. Whether it comes by way of silence in Ranu Maharshi's case, or it comes out as Guru Granth Sahib in Guru Nanak's case. Well, Guru Nanak ji did not write Guru Granth Sahib. Some later say one of their gurus wrote, but the initial part he only began. He only concocted the Mahamantra of them, Ik Omkar Karta Purukha. Where did that come? Where did the Om Bhurbhuva Swaha come into the mouth of Vishwamitra? It was divine the divine expressing through the equipment, through the instrument, because there is no one in between to disturb the 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 natural flow. And that time that was the requirement, so it came out. See, this only happens when we are in tune with the nature, when we are at one ment with the nature. And how to become one, be one with nature? You be one with yourself. Then you will have no problem with nature. When we are one with ourselves, then mind will behave by itself. When we are extroverted, then the ego comes up and mind behaves funnily. The thought continues that the words Sat Chit Ananda have no entry in the real self. Udhay Jaliya, Udhay Jaliya Divasapati, Teki Dive Se Yeti, Vanchuni Pikalyat Seti, Sujatati Nagarakai. On sunrise, the lamp becomes useless and hence are put off. Will anyone plough the field without harvesting the earlier crop? Same way, when Swamiji says, when the sun rises, all the lights are put out because they are no longer needed. When are lights needed? Only in darkness, to illuminate the roads, illuminate the rooms, illuminate the table. Right now I put the curtains up because you can't see me, so I put the lights on. But if I open the curtains, there's enough light. I don't need the lamps. When the sun rises, all the lights are put out because they are no longer needed. In another example, the teacher says, when the harvest is not over, there is no need to plough the field. In the same way, the words Sat Chit Ananda help us as far as introducing us to our own essential nature, and in that introduction, we ourselves disappear. So all exercises, whether it is Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, whether it is Kundalini, going through the various chakras to Sahasrar, whether it is Neti Neti, whether it is Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Tattvamasi, Ayam Atma Brahma, all these great statements of truth, all the sadhanas, they are only required as long as, and what is there, as long as we are present as an individual. And what is their purpose? Their purpose is to bring you to yourself. As stupid it sounds, but that is what is doing, no? Why are we using so many words to understand who we are? Don't we know who we are? Therein lies the problem. Our idea of ourselves is as father, mother, daughter, sister, one who is born, one who is getting old, one who is healthy, one who is unhealthy, one is all these things. So scriptures are introducing, so is replacing all those ideas by which we identify ourselves and prop ourselves up. Scripture they are using the words only which are limited to replace these words which are conclusive in nature. So it uses the word Satchidananda. He says, you are Sat, you are ever existing, you are Chit, you are all knowing, you are Anand, you are never miserable. Oh really, I didn't know that I am like that. And slowly, if we are doing the sadhana, if we are sincere in our approach to the scriptures, slowly it starts dawning to us that yeah, maybe there is a possibility I am like that. That my nature is of Satchidananda. And when we become convinced of it, then something like Amrit Anubhav comes in our life. It says you are not Satchidananda also. These are only words. Drop them. See. So the all the statements of truth that I told you, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Brahmatmaikya Bodh, Tattvamasi, you are Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupa, all these words introduce us to our true nature. But what is that true nature is not a specific, it is not specific, it is non-specific. Words are specific. So these words are, even though they are specific, but the what these words indicate is non-specific, and that non-specific is our true nature, is the nature of the entire. And once we become one, when we merge into it, then the specific words have become null and void. They drop away. Just like the thought of sleep drops away once sleep comes over, takes over. Same way, the word Satchidananda also drop away once the realization sucks us into it. So till where can these words take you? Till where the word sleep can take you? To the threshold of sleep. Till where do the word Satchidanand take you? To the threshold of the self, to the threshold of the reality. But the door must open from inside. You cannot open the door. If you try, it will bring misery. You have to surrender there. You have to become effort, allow, trust the process. Thereafter, why are these words needed any longer? Let us not word the truth again and again. So, truth is worded by the various words that we just said, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Swarup, etc., etc. They are only pointers. Once you are one with it, just as you cannot keep talking and thinking about sleep once you have gone to sleep, become one with the sleep. Similarly, once you are one with the truth, you don't keep talking about truth again and again. That I want the truth, I want to be the truth, I have to realize the truth. You don't say that. See? They are not needed any longer. Then you will say, but then how will such a person function? We see Mahatma speaking. Yes, understood. Initials, for the first abidance to happen, all words in your mind have to subside. Once abidance has taken place, thereafter, after some time, the mind may click, may not click. If it clicks, there is no corruption in your abidance. If it doesn't click, you are still abiding anyway. So, whether mind manifests as thought or mind is free of thought, it does not concern you anymore. Because you have recognized you are the infinite. How you have realized? Without a thought. Without a thought. Realization is unlike sleep. In sleep, we are ignorant of our realization. When we remain conscious, when we remain aware, when we remain awake in sleep, we are realized. Simple. This is the instruction, or just communicated to mom. Now it's up to her what she does with it. See? So don't complicate the whole thing. Don't complicate it. It's very, very simple. Truth just cannot be defined and fixed within a frame of reference. Truth defies all definitions and all references. There are no criteria for defining self-realization. Why? Because it is beyond all conditionings, beyond desh kala vastu. It is beyond waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, and samadhi. It is beyond vaikhari madhyama pashyanti para. The truth is beyond the 7 chakras. The truth is beyond the savikalpa samadhi and the nirvikalpa samadhi. See? So it is non-specific. All sadhana, even when we are using the word Satchidananda to contemplate, like in this chapter, it is specific knowledge, but indicating the nature of the non-specific. When you are thinking of sleep, it is a specific thought going on in your sleep. I am sleepy, I am sleepy, I am sleepy. But when sleep ensues, it is non-specific. There are no boundaries, there is no knower, there is no experiencer or experienced. Experience of sleep is there. You are one with sleep, but there is no experiencer. And remember, Triput, for experiencer, there should be an experienced and experiencing. The Triputi vanishes, but the experience continues of sleep, but without the knower of the sleep. Same way, realization continues, or it is our natural state. But when the seeker who was thinking he is not realized, he realizes, he gets sucked into, he is at one with his own essential nature, meaning he has realized it. How he has realized it? He is not thinking about it anymore. He has done whatever the angle of approach, he chose the correct angle of approach, and he is abiding. Thereafter no words are required, because no words can sufficiently explain what that state of realization is, what that self is. And then masters, they just take the scriptures and they start teaching, because that is the best way. Then why did Jnaneshwar Maharaj write such a big text on called Amrit Anubhav if he was realized? Guru Adesh. It was not his itch. He did not want to give lecture on Bhagavad Gita. The Guru Ajna. The Nivrittinathji told, come on, now give lectures. At age 20 or 28, now write down your experience of realization. See? At this example, and meditation also I have taken before in one of the classes 2-3 weeks ago. We only know ourselves with reference to something. I am the father, I am the mother, I am the son of my parents, I was born in this village, I was born in that town, I went to this school. All references. Then when that is not enough, after that the seeker, then I am the body, then I am the prana, then I am the mind, then I am the intellect. I am the totality. Totality is also referential only. So we have to bypass the totality. From individuality we jump into infinity. Because you get into totality, then lot of distractions are there. And how do you get from individuality to infinity? Vedanta. These are the thoughts. How use so we are so now live with awareness and alertness. What is the alertness? That I must not talk about myself with reference to anything or anyone. Try give it a go on a daily basis. Just keep your be attentive towards it. That whenever you are in a conversation, try to utilize language which is non-referential. You will not be able to speak. The penultimate step is you will talk about yourself in third person. One step further down, instead of talking as I will talk as we, plural. And that is a sign of culture, a growth. Instead of saying I am doing this, we are doing this, that is a cultured language. Then instead of we, you talk, forget, Swami is feeling hungry now. Swami is giving a lecture now. You are talking about, you are watching, you are now become a witness. From you took a jump, you became a witness to all activity that is taking place. Swami is speaking, Swami is sitting, Swami is talking, Swami is taking this particular text. So this is with reference to yourself only. So you are disentangling yourself with this. This automatically happens. You don't have to, or you can try also. How does it matter? You are unclutching yourself from the mind. You can this third person language will only seem normal when you are watching the mind functioning. That the mind is doing this. Okay, that mind is called Swami. The I in the mind is called Swami. The subject in the mind is called Swami. The mind is wanting to do this. If it does, it does. It doesn't do, doesn't do. Oh, the mind is feeling hungry now. If food comes, good. If it doesn't come, also okay. But it's really hungry. Yeah, but it's okay. You don't want to get caught up in anything. In extreme hunger also, or extreme nothing, you want to get caught up. For that, alertness is required. Ekdam, razor edge. That I must not fall into the Prakriti again. Prakriti is mind. Prakriti is words. Then from the third person language, then you come to yourself. How useless are the words in the kingdom of truth is explained further. Manoni bandha mokshanse vyasa nahi nimale kaza ata nirupana bhoja vod gezarhi. Therefore, when the cause for bondage and liberation, that is, knowledge and ignorance, have no existence in pure self, what is the use of the words to express the self? Why are we invoking knowledge? When we are studying Abhirut Anubhava, what is it? Knowledge. What is it doing? Counteracting ignorance. That's all its job is. What is the job of knowledge? To remove ignorance. But when ignorance is no longer there, you have utilized. How did you get knowledge? Through words. What is the ultimate language that you are using? Satchidanandoham. And you understand that Satchidanandoham is only to counteract Asat, Achit and Dukkham. When Asat, Achit and Dukkham are no longer there, do you need to keep harping in your mind Satchidanandoham, Satchidanandoham, Satchidanandoham? Do you need to say? No. Do you need to keep saying I am, I am, I am, I am, I am? You don't need to. Do you need to keep going, keep continuing saying I am sleepy, I am sleepy, I am sleepy once you have slept? No. Meaning you are chanting the thought of sleep, thinking about sleep only as long as there are some other thoughts of the world corrupting the mind. When all those thoughts have neutralized, the thought of the sleep also dies away and sleep begins. Oh, but you just said it sucks you in. Array, that was only a language. Different way, something should click. All different approaches we are looking at, angles of approach. Which is suitable to your mind, I don't know. You also don't know. That's why you are all listening. See? So when there is no thought of the world, then the thought of sleep also is not required. It dies its own death. And sleep begins. So when we are thinking of Satchidanandoham, when we are doing the japa, when it has neutralized all the thoughts of the world, then the thought of the japa also is not required. It also melts away. And what remains is you. What remains is you. And you realize, and what was the connotation of Satchidananda? That is which is infinitely existing, that which is all-knowing and which is ever blissful. That was the connotation of the word Satchidananda, isn't it? And it was told, you are that. Then it was told, these words are only to counteract. But what is their meaning? Now you have subjectively, you have understood it. But now utilization of words is not required because it did its job. It did its job. Therefore, one has discovered one's own essential nature. Need he talk about it again and again? Once one has come to know his essential nature, how he has come to know his essential nature? Without any reference. No doubt only. Does he need to talk about it again and again? There is no need for a plate filled with various explanations for bondage, liberation, etc. When the plate of all this talk of arguments, explanations, etc. is empty, what will one eat? The plate is the mind. In the mind, the arguments, discussions, explanations, contemplations, reflections, shravanam, mananam, all this was going on. What was all this pursued? Instead of PhD and masters and pursuing the world, why was all this knowledge pursued? Because we want to know the self. And what did it do on the way? It neutralized all the knowledge of the world. In other words, as we came to know who we are through words, no doubt. So within the Prakriti, which is Trigunatmika, Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, from Tamas we raised ourselves through thoughts to Rajas, then from Rajas we raised ourselves to Sattva, and in Sattva we raised ourselves to the climax of Sattva, only to drop it. What does this dropping mean? That once This is all, mind is Trigunatmik, isn't it? Mind is Prakriti. So instead of the thoughts of the world, we introduced the thoughts of the scriptures. Thoughts of the scriptures acted as a counteraction to the thoughts of the world. When there are no thoughts of the world, then what are the why do we need the thoughts of the scriptures? In other words, mind becomes empty. What will the individual eat now? There is nothing to eat, no words available to eat. No explanation required, no discussion required, no debates required, no sadhana required, no remembering required. All this was for whom? For the mind. When there is no play, no food only, then will the mind be called mind? Think. When there is no food to eat, mind is nothing but the pure consciousness. When there is no food to eat, mind is nothing but pure consciousness. So be smart, be intelligent, move through life in such a manner that you keep emptying your plate. Meaning emptying your mind. The one who is not doing this, he is committing sabotage on a daily basis. Why daily? Moment to moment basis. Our approach to life, you have to assess, you have to negotiate, you have to write down your rules. You have studied enough. If it has not clicked, then somewhere in our approach something is going wrong. Maybe we are not convinced, maybe we are not practicing regularly, maybe we are not being exposed. 1.5 hours is not enough. It has to translate into 24 hours of alert living. See? That only you have to do it. I cannot do that for you. Jnaneshwar Maharaj cannot do that for you. His Amrit Anubhav cannot do that for you. It can point you towards it, but you have to make the decision. You have to invoke the alertness. You have to invoke the attentiveness towards the infinite. If the plate is empty, what will one eat? This worldly poetic explanation means when there is no need to talk about self-realization, will someone engage in vain arguments of logic and explanation about self-realization? This is how Ramana Maharishi used to be, from what we have read or what we have seen on videos. Sit silent, no answer required. Automatically many people used to get the answers just by sitting in his presence. When you are in company of a Mahatma, the mind automatically quietens down. Not any Mahatma, such Mahatma who is abiding in the self. Just as when we have gone to sleep, do we keep eating from the plate of the world? My child, my babies, my past memories, when I got married, when I became a sannyasi, when I had my children, when I was so many years old. In sleep, everything is empty, no? There is no invocation of words, arguments, discussions, debates. Everything is null and void, isn't it? In deep sleep. But it is under the spell of ignorance. Same thing it is in realization. There's no need to talk. There's no need to prove. There's no need to substantiate. Oh, I think you are a hypocrite. You are not a realized person. Who cares? Everyone is valid to their opinion. We don't have to. The Sacha Mahatma doesn't counteract that person. No, no. How dare you say that to me? You don't know. No, so many years of sadhana I did, and I have realized myself. And now, who are you to tell me? Who are you to advertise that I am not a realized person? Doesn't care. Doesn't care. Therefore, there is no use or need for any word in the final emancipation of one's own limitations, of both bondage and freedom. Freedom is the thought of freedom, the thought of liberation, the thought of self realization is only utilized in order to counteract the thought of bondage, is only used to counteract the experience of bondage. Not only thought of bondage, experience also. And once we have become totally convinced that there is nothing called bondage. Why? Waking dream sleep are coming and going every day. I am not bound by any of them. I know that they are coming and going. You are free of bondage. Just by thinking about it, you are free of bondage. Bondage of waking, dream, and sleep. When you are deeply convinced of this, that I am not disturbed by waking, dream, or sleep, even in thought, then the question will be, who am I then? Then it doesn't take too long. The moment you become undisturbed by the event of waking, dream, and deep sleep, you are with yourself. There is no need to talk about Paramatma or self-realization. This and the next two OVs serve to introduce the theme of the next chapter named Devaluation of the Words, that is the limited utility of words. So here, first as an introduction in the 5th chapter, only 3 words were taken, Sat, Chit and Ananda, and their true status was revealed to us. Because we all come from our, whatever backgrounds we come from, we have come to believe that the truth is Satchidananda. But for a true seeker, he has to understand what we have understood in this 5th chapter. And this is taken a bit one step further, that the words are limited in their nature. What is the next chapter called? Shabda Khandana. Now the principle, here 3 words were taken, now word as a principle will be taken, approached, and will be shown how words are incapable, impotent to make one realize. If that is the case, you already understand what will be told there, because para is where there are no words, sahasrar is where there are no words. Just as in sleep there are no words, in self-realization also no words. So let's see what they say. So till here in the 66th OV, the topic of Satchidananda Padatrayi Vivarna, the inefficacy of the word Satchidananda was brought about, was explained by Jnaneshwar Maharaj by taking each word, first Sat to counteract Asat, Chit to counteract Achit, and Ananda to counteract Dukkham. Now he says, आणि पुढिला का आपणापे वस्तू विसराचे नि हाते हरपे मग शब्देची घेपे आठवूनिया. The words may be able to remind us about something that we have forgotten. So what is the purpose of the words? To remind us of something that we have forgotten. Who forgets? Who forgets? Can the self forget? No. Can the Ishvara forget? No. Then who forgets? The individual forgets. The one who accepts himself as a conditioned being. What is conditioned being? The one who defines himself with reference to something. I was born, I am a son of my parents, I am the daughter of my parents, I am the wife of this person. Referential. This is conditioned entity. Not only from the outside world. That outside world expression of with reference is coming because I am the body. If I don't have body, who are you? I don't know. I am alive because I am breathing. I am alive because I am thinking. So all this is that I am so many height and so many meters wide and so many kilos heavy. All this is conditioned entity. We have got identified with parameters and started defining ourselves. This is this is called referential identity. See? So when we are using words to define us, I am the son of my mother. I have used words to describe who I am. Now, at a relative level, it sounds perfectly fine. Yes, you are the son. How can you be born without a mother? You are the son of your mother. Yes, I see that you are so old. Yes, you must have been born. That's why you are here today. Isn't it? Without birth, how can you exist? Whether it is divine conception or whether it is womb come out of womb. But birth has taken place, no? Now to count, and what are these? In what manner are we coming to these conclusions? Only through words. Each word has some connotation. Mother has a connotation, father has a connotation, son has a connotation, birth, the word birth has a connotation, the date has a connotation, the year has a connotation. Now, how do you counteract the words? Do you counteract the words with silence? It will not work. It will not work. Do you counteract the words with action at the body level? It will not work. COVID is there. We got COVID. We did not get COVID, but COVID is present in the world. How do we counteract COVID? By introducing COVID virus back into the body. You are not putting something else into the body. You are putting the same virus back into the body. Malaria, same thing. Then the body is able to produce the antibodies. So what are you introducing back into the body? The same virus. So if the virus is of thinking, of words, what will work to counteract the words? Words only will counter. Which words? Now we become available. Okay, which words? The scriptural words, the words of the Mahatmas. the words which have the power, the capacity, capability, strength to counteract the other words which are nothing but the world. Yes, the words which are going to counteract, they are also of the world, no doubt. The COVID virus, whether someone is infected and someone is not infected, but when you get the COVID virus, it's exactly the same with the one as the one who has got COVID. It's still the same. So whether the thoughts of the world or thoughts of realization, they are still part of the world. But what are they doing? One type of words are counteracting the other type of words. So here when he says the words may not be able to remind us, so when we talk about the positive words, thoughts of the realization, and in this particular manner, it reminds us about what? Remember, words cannot reveal the truth. But what are they doing? Because right now we think we are thinking only takes place in the mind. So what is mind had forgotten itself, what its true nature is. The words are reminding the mind what its true nature is. And they will keep reminding, you keep coming satsang, I'll keep talking, text after text. But convincing part we cannot do. You have to become convinced. Conviction comes about by extreme faith that what the scriptures are saying is true. Faith comes by deep, what do you call? Reverence. How do you know you have faith? If you have reverence towards the scriptures, towards the words, that they, yes, what they are saying is so true. So for the knowledge, that will lead to conviction. Without reverence, conviction will not come. So when we are in that disposition, then then automatically the thoughts of the world will start dissolving. The words may be able to remind us about something that we have forgotten. So right now we have forgotten who we are. Words are reminding us who we are, but words are not able to reveal who we are. Revelation has to happen by grace. Again, it is only language. We are always self-revealed. we are always self-revealed. Self doesn't need revelation. Self does not reveal itself. Self is as it is. Then what is happening in this process of ignorance being counteracted by words of knowledge? Same thing that is happening by the thoughts of the world counteracted by thought of sleep. And when thought of the worlds have died away, the thought of the sleep also dies away, and what remains behind is sleep. Same thing will happen here also. Thoughts of the world are counteracted by thoughts of the self, but when the thoughts of the world are no longer a problem, they dissolve away. The thought that Aham Brahmasmi, that thought also will dissolve away. Then what will remain? Only Brahman will remain. Because I and Brahman have become one. Now you don't, as long as you are thinking about it, you two are separate. Thinking keeps you separate. Initial stages. In the end, Mahatmas say they are still abiding. When something other than oneself, say an object or event, has been forgotten or misplaced, then words may be of some use in reminding one of what has been forgotten. But when it comes to one's own essential nature, the pure self, can one misplace or forget oneself? Is one other than oneself? When I said self is self-revealed, it does. You can never forget yourself. But yet, we are approaching scriptures with this premise that I don't know who I am, that I want to be Satchidanand Swarup, that I want to be self-realized. That is mumukshutvam, isn't it? I want to liberate. But you are already liberated. No, 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 don't take me for a ride. Tell the truth. We are telling you the truth. You are already liberated. No, but you insist that we are not liberated. That for a person who is thinking in this manner again and again and again that I am not liberated, that I am bound, then something has to be said. So we use this type of language to counteract his ignorance. If not, when there is need, where then is the need to remind oneself about oneself? So there is no purpose served by the words. In a bigger scheme of things, words are important. They can yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Kenopanishad, we saw all the gods go, they cannot reveal the truth, the Yaksha Purusha. Indra also cannot reveal, but he comes to know who it was. Similarly, our mind also can suss it out. But then he has to surrender in order to be one with him. Indra doesn't surrender. He wants to hold on to his position. Do we want to hold on to the position? I am the husband, I am the provider of the family, I am the owner of this and that. So, our definition of ourselves is referential. Are we ready to take the plunge to be in spite of the references? Come to for that, once you dip into the water, you will come out wet. Once our mind dips into the divinity, our mind dips into the ocean of sleep, it comes out refreshed, rejuvenated, relaxed. If it was throughout night fighting with the waves and trying to dip into the water, but the waves were throwing him out again and again, that is a disturbed night's sleep. That fellow is never fresh next morning, isn't it? Our experience. But when you have taken a dip, not disturbed by the waves, and you come back, get up in the morning, completely refreshed. You don't know what sleep was, but you conclude that I am refreshed, I am relaxed, I am worry-free, I feel rested. These are the symptoms by which you can say that you had a good sleep, isn't it? But are these words equal to sleep? No. Are these words equal to sleep? No. Are they doing justice to the sleep? No, sleep is much more than all these words put together. Apply the same principle here also. Once the mind dips into the self, meaning it comes to realize that it is none other than the self, that is called self-realization. And what is that? When mind becomes free of ignorance and becomes free of knowledge also. Thought knowledge. Then mind is nothing but that's infinite reality. Once it has experienced that, when again mind clicks in, can it remain the same mind as before? Can it remain as a sadhaka? Can it remain as a husband, wife, brother, sister, all that will continue, but now no longer. Your whole, how should I say, your entire disposition has changed. The mind has become divinized now. This is the opening of the third eye. Well, you can put it that way. It is not actually, but we can say it. So when the mind functions, it thinks thoughts are divine. When the senses function, they see everything divine. अरे वाह, ये क्या हो गया? That is what happens afterwards. The phenomena continues. For whom? For the people who are watching the Mahatma. But for the Mahatma, is there a phenomena? For the Mahatma, is there a phenomena? No. Then what is there? I alone am, without a thought. Oh, you alone are. For the people outside, oh, you alone are. In the body, no, no. I alone am. There is nothing else other than me. There is nothing else other than me. This, the man standing outside who has not experienced this can never understand it. We are coming to some little bit close to understanding by through this text, but it is a topic which cannot be understood by the intellect. As we said, it can only bring you to the threshold. And when you come to the threshold, you realize every thought is a corruption which is keeping you away from being in your natural state. The truth is beyond forgetting and remembering. वो हो गया. ये तुलिया ही परौते चांगावे नाही शब्दाते जर ही स्मारकपणे कीर्तिते मेरवी हा जगी. Beyond the forgetting and remembering, how can words have the glory of being a reminder? The self being beyond forgetting and remembering, the words Satchidananda do not carry any meaning. Again, he is repeating the same thing. As far as the truth is concerned, there is no possibility of either remembering or forgetting it. Truth is not a memory. So, why was it said that words are a reminder? Yes, when you are a seeker, the knowledge is taking you out of ignorance. It is only reminding you that again and again it's being bombarded on you. You are infinite. You are always in your natural state. You are Satchidanand Swarup. Again and again you are told. Maybe in this life or some life you will realize that हाँ यार कितने बार मेरे को मारा इसने with these words. Maybe I should start accepting now for a change. See? But when that student or seeker accepts it and follows the steps, comes to and abides, after that, no reminder and no memory. Memory is only for the conditioned. You by the seeker by nature is unconditioned. Atma is unconditioned. Therefore, words have no meaning at all. Beyond forgetting and remembering, can words have the glory of reminding one about the self? No, because words cannot reveal the self. So again and again, the teacher is here prodding you to be the self in spite of the thoughts. Many of you, or at least some of you, I don't know, I can't see every one of you, सुनते सुनते कभी कभी तंद्री लग जाती है, मीनिंग while you are listening suddenly you doze off. Maybe it must have happened when you started listening early, many years ago. If you are very exhausted, you have had a sleepless night, and you get up in the morning because of your regular habit of a Sunday morning class, and you sit here and you listen, but you have not had a good night's sleep, and the thoughts of contemplation are going on, and suddenly everything is slowing down. At that time, you can't remember anything. You can't remember the world. When the sleep is coming, you can't remember the world. You're forgetting the world. Who? The mind is forgetting the world. It's not able to remember the world. Words only function in the relative. Relative means the world. Forgetting and remembering is only at the worldly level. But when it comes to the realm of the self, which is one without a second, ekameva dvitiya nanasti kinchana, neha nanasti kinchana. Nothing else is other than the self. Then who will remember what? Who will forget what? That is our true nature. It's bringing you, reminding us again and again of our true nature. You are not the one who has to keep remembering I am the self. You are not the one who can ever forget you are the self. You are the self. Accept it. If the word was to be remembered and glorified as a great revealer of the truth, it is not possible. Words cannot be made immortal in the form of a memorial which will explain Paramatma in words. Words are, by nature, what is their nature? By nature they are mortal, means they come, they stay, they go away. Words are not permanent. The one who is witnessing the coming and going of the words is the permanent one. And he is non-specific. He is referenceless. Even if the words are not there to refer that there is one who is because of whom I am expressing, the word is saying, but what is that? The word cannot come to know. Just as the five senses cannot come to know the mind cannot come to know the avyakta cannot come to know the jiva, the consciousness. The effect can never come to know the cause. It is not possible. Words cannot be made immortal in the form of a memorial which will explain Paramatma in words. So even words like Tattvamasi, words like Aham Brahmasmi, words like Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, all these, as fantastic as these statements of truth are, in the end, what they are indicating is immortal, but by themselves they are mortal. Don't hold on to them. So what is the smart? Who is a smart seeker? Who uses the words? How? Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. You use the words to go beyond the words. You use the word sleep to go beyond the world. You use the word Satchidananda to go beyond the world or imagination of Satchidananda Swarup. To go beyond the words. In other words, you are that who is beyond the manifestation or unmanifestation of the words. The only way to be and to abide in the truth is to keep silent. This is the maunam. What I said just one line before. Truth is that which is in spite of manifestation of sound or unmanifestation of sound. In other words, whether there is sound or there is silence, self is undisturbed by both. He does not seek silence, and he does not he is not against the sound. That should be our disposition. If you keep seeking silence, oh, they said it should be silent, truth is to keep silent, keep silent, keep silent. But you have to understand, the silence is not the manashanti. We are talking about the chidabhasa, chidakash, chidakash, not chidabhas. Bhutakash, chittakash, chidakash. We are talking about chidakash here. If you only focus on chittakash, mind becoming silent, then nature of the mind is to not be silent also. It goes through the flux. Then what will you do? So when the mind is silent, you are happy. When the mind becomes active, you become miserable. Is that what we want? No. We want chidakash. We want prashanti. That shanti which is not opposed to shanti or ashanti. Which is, prashanti is that transcendental peace which is not opposed to the relative peace and no peace. How the word, the only way to be and to abide in the truth is to keep silent, for the self is beyond words, and words like Satchidananda, etc., have no meaning. That means they are impotent. How the words have no utility either for removing ignorance or in revealing knowledge will be taken up in the next chapter as a logical sequence to this chapter. So when we are talking about Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, when we have gone to Para, so as long as we were an individual, we were a seeker, we had to be given some sadhana, some approach in order to come to the threshold. Now we are talking about once you are abiding, don't get caught up again. I have not done the sadhana, I did not do my puja, I did not do that, I did not do this. I have to do my 20 malas of japa every day. That means we never experienced, if this thought is coming, we never abided in the self in the first place. But again, I am talking at relative level. Who are you at this very moment? Are you the relative or are you the absolute? The absolute is never corrupted by the relative. The absolute is never corrupted by the relative. The man or the woman is never corrupted by the roles that they play. They continue to be man and woman. Man and woman have no problems. Roles have all the problems. See? Same way, the self has got no problems. It is all that there is. There is no one to say other than the self as not self. Self is all inclusive. Self is one without a second. So if we have come to understand the self is one without a second, it is all that there is, and words are utilized only in the relative, then where's the need of words to reveal the self? If we are practicing Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, it's only to go beyond the words, meaning to go beyond the relative. When we are talking about Satchidananda, we are only counteracting Asat, Achit, Ananda, meaning by cancelling them, we are going beyond words. If we are the one who whom the word cannot touch us, touch. Where are the words? In the mind. Mind, the thoughts or the words in the mind can never touch the self that we are. If it can never touch the word, and this has clicked in this today's class, then why do we want to take the name of the why do we want to utilize the words also? Read such a thick book called Amrit Anubhav. Why? Oh, it's fascinating, it's very interesting, oh, it's such beautiful thoughts are given in it. But you are beyond all these words, you are beyond all these verses. Words and verses cannot reveal the truth. Then why are we reading it? No, I don't know what I'm doing. I got nothing better to do. Keep Swamiji busy. If we don't listen, who will? Poor fellow, he will not have anyone to talk to. Parasparam bhavayanta. I am also thinking the same way. If I don't talk, you will trouble your family. So better 1.5 hours here. Every day, some peace in the house. Now, jokes apart, words are not here. So now access this. Remain silent within. Remain the undisturbed. This word, I enjoy using this word. What is that? The undisturbed poise. Be the undisturbed one. Let everything go on. If you remain undisturbed, everything will collapse by itself. Here it was told, use the word and allow the collapsing to take place. So when you think of Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, you are using some word, Ram, 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 and what is happening? Sleep, 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 sleep. And what is happening? The waking experience is collapsing. So you did something to make the disturbances collapse, and what you use to collapse the disturbances, it also collapses in the end. In the end, if everything has to collapse, remain undisturbed. Because you cannot fight the nature, no? Nature is manifestation and unmanifestation. If we forcefully make it collapse by doing japa, etc., without realizing, then a time will come when it will become active also. Then what will you do? This mantra did not work. Now I have to choose something, some other mantra to do Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. I think Shivji, he is not attached to anything. I was taking Balaji, Vithala Vithala, or I was taking Namo Narayana. But again, activity. I think he is, because he is the sattvic state god, you know. Shivji is tamasic state god, lord of the destruction. He will destroy everything. But you go to him, again same thing happens. But you have to go through it, either through understanding or inside of you. Then you will come to Vedanta. What can I hold on to which will not keep me in the loop? There is nothing that you can hold on to which can keep you out of the loop. Why? You are the one who is beyond the loop and inside the loop and as the loop and everything. There is nothing else. Loop is only an imagination. Waking, dream, deep sleep, loop is an imagination. It's only a phenomena. Phenomena is the loop. This way, when it comes to the next chapter, we will be doing the Shabda Khandana. Now next class we'll look at this summary of this chapter and deliberate on it. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Just a few moments. Hari Om.
हरिओम स्वामी जी. हरिओम स्वामी जी.